Hello fish tube. So I just set up a new 40-gallon breeder. I need to set up an overflow for a drip system so I can have a constant water flow going to it. So what I'm going to do is build one of my overflows here. I'll kind of go over everything as we're going. But basically, you need just a couple of tools. You need one of these cutters that just open up like that. Boom. Cheapy ones, but they work just fine. So I needed one more 4-inch piece to get this started, so let's cut through that. There we go. Another 4-inch piece, we'll get the big part out of the way. And then we basically have our setup right here. So pretty much everything we need, except for we got to cut 2 more little pieces here. Alright, so the way it goes is, so this is to be the outside, on the outside of the overflow. This right here is a 2-inch piece. So this will be the bottom, going into here. From there, we're going to have a T, and you can just press fit all these things together. After the T, we have an 1.5-inch piece. So all of these here are 1.5-inch pieces, and that just means that they're going to go into here, and they're going to be tight once you push everything together. And then we have this is a threaded adapter, so slip by threaded. I don't remember I think it's 1/2-inch thread for that. I'm not really sure, but as you can see, after you twist and push everything together, it comes pretty close to nothing showing there, which is what I wanted. On that one, you're going to have this barbed adapter here. So this is going to go to a hose that goes down to a drain line. And with that, you just thread it right into this piece. And then you can move that wherever you need it. If you want to, you can put some pipe tape around in here before you thread this in. It'll be better. Alright, so from there, we're going to come up. We need one, what is it, 4-inch piece here. So this is a 4-inch piece. Then we're going to come up with an elbow, an L, and go over like that. Try to make it look semi-straight. All these pieces are just press fit together. I'm not gluing them. I've glued pieces in the past. It doesn't seem to make any difference whether they're glued or not glued. As long as they're in there tight, you can make sure they're in there tight. And then you have the next piece coming over. So these 2 pieces, you want them, this is going to be the gap on the lip of your aquarium. So however deep your the lip is on your aquarium, you need to make sure this is going to fit over it and hang, because that's basically how this is staying on your aquarium. And I know I can go pretty close to right in there on these 40-gallon breeders. So from there, we're going to go with another, what do I do? Nope, I need a 3-inch piece. So we had a 4-inch piece up there. We want this piece that's going in here. This will be inside the aquarium. We want this piece to be shorter, because we're going to put an elbow on the bottom, and I'll show you how I get it to work for me. I know a lot of people, they drill all their holes right up here so that it'll flow. Well, I mean, it's not going to flow through this tube. I'll show you that after. But so let's get let me get this piece cut. I already made some marks for 3 inches. We'll put that guy in there. Alright, and then from there, we're going to do something different than most people do. Most people just come straight down with a long piece, and they'll put a cap on the end. I'm not going to do that. I won't mind to look a little nicer and be able to change where the overflow goes in. So I put this in there. I put another 1.5-inch piece in there to make it tight, and another elbow on this side. And then I'll show you the other thing that I buy, or you can make them out of PVC too, it doesn't really matter. is this. So these are, I get this off of Amazon. Lifeguard Aquatics. It's a 1/2-inch suction screen, recommended for hole size 1/2-inch hole saw. Doesn't matter. This right here fits perfectly inside of a 1/2-inch elbow. Look at that. So now you've got an adjustable, well, not completely. So we'll get this 4-inch piece on the bottom here. Put the cap on. So now this is your overflow for the most part. This part is adjustable, so you can still, as long as you don't put the cement on there, you can still move this around the aquarium. If you're worried about it leaking, you don't have to worry about this side, because this is all going to be in the aquarium. If you're really worried, glue all these joints here. Right? Top ones too, probably. Okay, so that's the basics of this thing. Now hold on one sec, let me get my drill and some tubing and I'll show you what we do to make this work. Alright, we're back. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart just this top elbow piece here. Get these two guys off of here. And this is the part that we need to worry about, these two L's together. So, what we do here is you want to use something to hold it in place while you're drilling. But I have a stepped bit, a unibit, and the drill, and we're just going to go right in on the top, kind of about right there. Oops, you want to be like right over where you're kind of centered over the hole that goes down into the pipe that you have coming into this piece. Alright, I'm going to go a little bit bigger. There's that. I mean, that's not a perfect hole. I'll fix that up a little bit. You want to make sure you get all the gunk out of there. Oops, there goes my piece of pipe. Alright, so that's about the size hole we want, and you can see, let's see, which way? There we go. It basically goes straight down through the middle of that. So you can see that. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'll show you the next part. Alright, now we're on to the next part. I got both holes drilled. I got them kind of deburred, and I got all the gunk out of the middle. Don't want anything in the pipes. So then we're going to dry fit this all back together. I should actually mention, see this sticker that's on here? This part's going inside the aquarium. So I want to swap that for the other end cap that we have that doesn't have a sticker stuck to it. Just because it's so hard to get those things off. It's kind of a pain, and it's hard to get these things off too. So what I do is pair of pliers and you just kind of twist. Comes apart, you can shove that part back in there. This will be the outside of the aquarium. Let's fit it all, put that guy back in there. Make sure this guy is still loose. And then get that basically in there. Oh yeah, we need these bottom pieces to be able to come out. Take that part back off, I guess. Make these loose. I'll get right back to here. Alright, so we got those off. So we can see all the way down. We can see where these come out. Because we're going to be putting a tube from one side through all the way down to the other side. So this tube will come all the way down to the bottom on both parts. It'll go all the way up. It'll go out the top. And it'll come back down this side here. So what I use is, don't do what I did. This was Aquatic Life tubing from Amazon. This was like $15 for this 20 or 50 feet or whatever. You can go to Menards and get 50 feet of it for like $2. The diameter is a tiny bit different, but as long as you, if you're using it for stuff like this, it doesn't matter. If you're using it for actual water lines, just make sure you tighten down your connections and don't use the press fit connections, I guess, on them. But anyways, so we're going to cut a couple pieces of this out. I'm going to cut it. I kind of cut it at an angle because you want a little bit of a, like a jagged end, you know, like a point. So I just use clippers and clip it off. So, and this is a little different from what everybody else I see doing too. So I shove it all the way down. Shove this part all the way down, which it kind of gets stuck in here. It's kind of a pain, but once you get it, then it's in there, you know. It's easier if you put the little sharp point like I showed you on it. Makes it going a little bit faster. Yeah. If it doesn't work, just take it apart and jam it down there. There we go. Now we're past that hard part. Alright, so I'm going to push this all the way down. I'm going to make sure my other point is down here. I'm going to pull this down tight, about like that. Okay? So now this top loop here, we're going to get it just like that. So just a little bit of a up and over, and then we're going to cut this part down here, and right there. We can pull it out and cut it nice. So now we got one that fits perfectly. And we know it does. We'll make that shark bite on there. That's pretty good, actually. You just don't want this part, so when you have it all the way to the bottom of that thing, here's the end cap. You don't want it to be flat in there. That's why you put that little shark bite on there. That way, even if it's sitting flat against the bottom, it's never sitting flat. There's always a way for water to be able to come in. So let's get this put back together, if we can. Oh, we got it down that side just fine. And that side just fine. Spoke too soon. Alright. So that's one. And this is, like I said, this is different from what I see other people doing too, because they only do one, like, bigger size tube. So if you lose your flow in one tube, well, then you're end up with a pile of water on the floor, and it's not going to be a lot of fun. So I use 2 tubes in each one of these, and they're smaller diameter, but I'm only accounting for a drip of water. Like, it's a half gallon an hour. I mean, it's barely any water going in there at all. So what I'm going to do is I'll start the second tube. It's going to be a pain trying to get it past that same part, but once you do, hey, you know what? Sometimes it's easier just to come up and through. And we'll go back down. And this is another reason why it's nice not to have everything glued down, because you can get all these pieces back together without really freaking out or causing too much anguish. Alright, so there's that. Alright, we're going to trim this one to be about the same as the other one. So we'll trim this one down a little bit too, I think. Yeah, it should be okay. Now we can put our caps on. Did we do this right again? Yep, that part's going in the aquarium. Alright, so those tubes are in there, and that's your basic overflow. Now to get this going, you're going to have to prime it. So I use a bucket to do that. I'll show you how I do it, okay? Catch you in 1 sec. Alright, so now we've got a vessel of water. So we got some water here. And I'm just going to shove the whole thing in there. I'm going to pull these tubes out. And we're going to flip everything upside down, make sure all the air is out of the system. So no air in these two tubes. No air in this thing. Okay? And then we're going to start shoving these. Actually, for this, we'll probably have to take it apart because I'm used to using a bigger bucket to do this. So what we'll do is we'll leave these blue tubes in there. We'll take this part apart just because it's easier to try to put all these tubes together while it's taken apart. Take these two apart. Alright, so we'll get our tubes in here. Excuse me. Couple of tubes there. Now we're going to turn these upside down. Let all the air bubbles come out. So there's this whole tube. Both of these tubes are full of water. So from there, we're going to hold them, make sure they're down in the water still. We're going to hold them underwater. We're going to attach our other pieces together here, if we can, in this little thing. Hopefully we can. As long as the ends stay underwater, then we didn't lose our water in there. Said you just don't want any air bubbles in here whatsoever. Let me get this in and I'll show you. Alright, I got the parts together. It took a little bit longer than I usually use a 5-gallon bucket. It's a lot easier. I figured I'd use this because it was clear and you can kind of see what was going on, but I don't think it's necessary next time. So once you get all your parts back together, and there's no air bubbles in these blue tubes at all, so they have to be totally submerged in the water. You got to make sure that there's no air bubbles in there, because if there's an air bubble, you might lose your siphon from your fish tank. But basically, let me show you how this works now. So you pull the whole thing out, set it off to the side, and I got this thing wrapped around here. So as you can see, there's water flowing out the tube. So this thing is completely underwater. So we could turn this, maybe. Well, whatever. So right now it'll drain all the way until it gets to, you know, the bottom line there, maybe a little bit higher than that, but it's running, right? So we can remove this from the water and it'll stop flowing in just a second. There we go. It's done. With no tricks or magic, once we put it back in, it'll automatically start the siphon again. So it's flowing out, we can lift it up. Same thing, it'll drain a little bit more. Put it back in. Siphon again. So it works just on kind of a gravity feed here. So in this tube here, it's always full of water up to this point. Same thing on this side, it's always full of water up to this point where it drains out. This level has to be higher up than this level, obviously, so you can get a siphon from this level to that level using just these two little tubes. And there it is. Any questions? Put them down below in the comments.